Hi everyone, thank you for taking the time and joining us today. You are at the first session on our track number 1 for personal finance. We are going to be demystifying tax day anxiety and empowering students to develop smart money habits. And how we're going to be doing that for the next hour is basically taking you through real world tools to help students understand the process and actually learn how to file taxes. So today you're going to have 2 speakers. You're going to have myself. I'm the Senior Manager of Education Partnerships for Intuit, and I lead our financial readiness initiatives. And really what that means is helping students prepare for their future financial success. So thinking about taking real world tools and how we bring them to the classroom. And then at the end, we will hear from Dave Cook. He is a business education teacher from Cary Grove High School. And he has used these simulations in his classroom. And what he's actually going to take you through is how to bridge the gap because of the world we are currently living in, and taking it from the classroom and learning how to go ahead and do that in an e-learning environment. So where we're going to spend our time today, I'm going to talk to a little bit to you guys who is Intuit Education and why we're here. We're going to go through the where and how and where you can find all the information and get your free content, basically from the Intuit Education website. We will practice the tax simulation. So what we're actually going to go ahead and do is have you guys pretend that you're the students and you will go and quote unquote practice filing taxes. Then we're going to go through tips for teaching through e-learning. So the digital learning recommendations, and this is where you'll hear from Dave. And then last but not least, we will go through specific tax simulation tips and tricks. And when we're done with that, we will actually go ahead and wrap up with a Q&A from you guys. We like to hear from you about any questions that you might have, comments, and we will go ahead. You can put those into the chat box in the Q&A. We will answer those live for you. So a little bit about Intuit Education's financial readiness program. We started about 3 years ago focusing on QuickBooks. And we quickly learned by through design thinking, which is our process to really understand the problem and really truly fall in love with that problem and not the solution. And we quickly learned that there's much more issues to teaching personal finance in the classroom than just from the side of QuickBooks and accounting. And so what we did was I actually went and sat in a bunch of classrooms and wanted to understand how is personal finance today being taught. And I kind of came away with some big surprises that I really wasn't expecting. And so one example, because we're actually going to be going through TurboTax today, is I learned that a lot of students are learning taxes by pen and paper. And then I also learned that students are learning taxes on a 1040 easy form. So as most of you guys know, either you or the students are probably not going to be filing taxes through pen and paper, whether it's anytime soon or in the near future. And then fun fact about the 1040 easy form that most of you guys probably know is you actually cannot file taxes using the 1040 easy form anymore. So the fact that we're really not meeting students where they are in the real world was kind of the problem that we really quickly learned that we wanted to solve. And so what we've done is we've created simulations, whether it's through TurboTax to bring real world tools to the classroom, or through Mint, which if you guys join us for the next session, we'll go through personal finance with budgeting. But so for about the past 16 to 18 months or so, we have worked with over 62,000 students across the US to teach Mint and TurboTax for personal finance education. We have taught over 1,000 educators through personal development, whether it's how to use either simulation and then integrate that into the classroom. We've done that through 4 strategic partners. So we have the Council for Economic Education, Take Charge Today, Next Gen Personal Finance, and Financial Beginnings. And then last but not least, we have a Net Promoter Score from our partners, educators, and students, which is their willingness and how much they enjoy using the simulations. So a little bit deep dive into the financial readiness program itself. So obviously something that's very important is knowledge gain. And this is something that, whether it's you take a pre-test, you go through the simulations, you take a post-test, and then you get to see the difference from the students. But one thing that we really wanted to solve for, knowing that we're bringing real world tools to the classroom, is, as you kind of see, is developing smart money decisions, which is really when you think about the behavior change, or kind of that mindset shift in really just not understanding the knowledge, but then actually applying that to the real world. So one thing that we wanted to focus on, number one, was student confidence. So the dark blue numbers in the bottom are the US national averages. So 25% of students are currently confident in managing their personal finances when they graduate high school. After going through, whether it's the tax simulation or maybe it's through Mint for budgeting, 90% of students say that they walk away confident in being able to manage that portion of their life in personal finance. 23% of students is their willingness to talk to their parents about personal finances, or vice versa. There's actually that communication gap, whether it's from the children and the students to the parents, or the parents to the students. So 23% of students are willing to actually talk to their parents, but after learning whether it's taxes again or Mint and budgeting, they want to actually go and talk to the parents to see how they're doing that in their lives. Another thing that we wanted to solve for was actually more focused on you guys as the educators. So the US national average is 20% educator confidence in teaching personal finance. And after going through a webinar similar to this, or going through another professional development training, which is usually about 1 hour, 91% of educators say that they're more confident in being able to teach personal finance using real world tools. And then last but not least, 96% of students actually claim that they want to use Mint or TurboTax as part of their curriculum, whether that's through, maybe it's Take Charge Today, or it's through these standalone simulations. So now I'm going to actually jump ahead and show you where you can find all the different simulations and activities that we have. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. All right. And so this is the financial readiness page for the Intuit Education website. And you will notice as you go through, this is where everything lives that you could potentially need for your classroom. So everything from where we talk about the real world tools to the classroom, developing those habits and making them stick, and then giving back to build for a stronger tomorrow. And then the tools that we have for the classroom, the real world tools, is the TurboTax and Mint. So when you're looking at TurboTax, everything you need is right here. So we have a teacher checklist, we have the simulation link to actually go to, and then the W-2s. So I will run through very quickly each and every one of these so you can see what they look like. But we have different W-2s that you can use, ranging from a part-time high school student to a married couple who needs to go through and practice filing their taxes. One thing I want to make sure you guys understand is this is a student simulation. So when your students go through this, they should be using these W-2s to practice filing their taxes. We don't want them to enter any of their own information. And if there is a W-2 here, or one that you would like to use, maybe we don't have your state in W-2s, you can actually create your own W-2 and use that throughout the simulation. It really won't make a difference. And whether you just change the address or you change the EIN from the company that they work for, either way, it will work just the same. So when you get to this portion of the W-2s, all you'll need to enter is your first name, last name, and email, and then a pop-up with all the different W-2s that you can download, you can use for your classroom. We also have videos for you guys. So similar to this webinar, let's just say, obviously, you're not going to show this webinar to your students. Feel free to click on this video. It's also a part of YouTube, which you can share with your students. And it's a very condensed 2-minute version of how to get your students set up to use TurboTax. And then same thing with Mint down here. We have the teacher checklist, how to actually go through the process step by step, and then all the different activities and resources. And then last but not least, down here at the bottom, we have our strategic partners that we work with. So the Council for Economic Education, Take Charge Today, and you can create your free accounts with them by clicking on these links. And then any upcoming webinars and events will be located down here. So now I'm going to pop back over into the PowerPoint presentation. And now here is the materials that you guys will need to go through this. So we have the teacher checklist, the step-by-step guide and the W-2 sample that we will go through. And you guys should have the ability to download these either while we're going through this or just prior to. And so with the teacher checklist, what it's going to do is it will take you step by step as the educator through the process in what you're going to go ahead and need. So connecting, creating, and choosing the different W-2 that you need. We have the step-by-step guide. And so this is what I'm actually going to take you guys through today. But this is something that you can share with your students and that we will actually go through, and then you will go through with them in turn. And then last but not least is the W-2 itself. And this is everything that you need for the simulation. So we give you a nice upfront paragraph, all the information, and again, we will go through this. But this is one of, I believe, 5 we have examples, and then you can also create your own. So now what we're going to go ahead and do is jump into the simulation. So I'm going to share my screen again one more time. Okay, great. So now let's just run through these teacher checklists. So we have the teacher checklist for you guys, and this is something just for you and not your students. So you will connect, create, choose the profile that you want to use, and then you're just going to go through continuing practicing using the persona, and then we're going to go through how to complete and print. And again, this is just for you guys to go through this, and we want to really recommend that you do this maybe once or twice, maybe not the full thing, but just getting into the account. This way, when you teach your students, it's kind of an easy process because you'll notice it's technology, so there's a slight learning curve up front, and then it's pretty easy to go from there. Next, we have the step-by-step guide, and this is what I will take you through today. So I actually won't have this up next to the screen as I do this, but feel free to download it, to print it, whatever you need to help you get into the simulation itself. And then we have the W-2 for Antonio. And so with Antonio, what we're going to go ahead and do is use this scenario up here, so this paragraph that we've given you, to go through and actually pretend to file taxes. So you and your students can read this. So Antonio is a high school senior. He works at Dairy Queen as a sales associate, approximately 10 hours per week during the school year, and then 30 during the summer. And as you guys just read through this, you'll notice that a lot of this information is what you'll need to file the taxes. If there are questions that come up that are not part of this paragraph or the W-2, as an example, is Antonio legally blind? The answer is no. And you will notice that several times as we go through the simulation. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. We are going to start with an email address. So again, we don't want any student information. Student data privacy is our #1 concern, just like yours. So we're going to go ahead and create email addresses that end with @Intuit Education. So let's go ahead and think about one that we can use for this. So maybe let's use test webinar 1234. Oops. Test webinar 1234 at intuiteducation.com. What we're going to go ahead and do is copy and paste that into the confirm email, copy and paste that into the user ID. Okay. And then from here, we're going to enter a phone number all the way across the board, and then we're going to verify with text message. Okay, so again, really quickly, let's go through this. We have our email address, and you can create whatever you want for this first portion, as long as it ends with @intuiteducation.com. Copy and paste that down here into the confirm email, and then copy and paste it one more time into the user ID. We're going to add a phone number, so add 555, 555, 55s across the board, and then make sure you verify that with text message. Okay, so just check that so you don't have the box down there. And then next, we're going to go ahead and create a password. So you'll notice you have to use 8 or more characters, upper and lower case, use a number and a symbol. So what I recommend that's part of the TurboTax how-to guide is just to use capital TURBOTAX, so TurboTax 1234 exclamation. And the reason why I just have that as part of the checklist is because what happens is students will enter a bunch of different things, and then half the time they didn't actually follow the instructions, which you guys are very familiar with. So let's try one more time. So we have TurboTax, 1, 2, 3, 4, exclamation. So one more time before I click create account, what we're going to go ahead and do is enter an email address, ends with @intuiteducation.com. Okay, same thing, copy and paste, user ID, phone number. Make sure you uncheck this box to verify with text message. So again, uncheck it and then enter your passwords. And again, go ahead and start to do this as I walk you through it, because we're going to go ahead and pretend that you guys are the students. So you'll go ahead and click create account, continue to TurboTax. And then from here, so for those of you that use TurboTax to file your taxes, you'll notice that it's very similar to what you guys see. There are some slight variations because, again, this is a student environment. And so from here, what we're going to go ahead and do is click File for 0. Great. And now this is officially where the simulation begins. So again, let's start by getting to know you, and this is where the students are really stepping into Antonio's shoes. Okay, so for his first name, it's Antonio Davis. Oops. And his date of birth, which we can see on the W-2 over here, is July 21, 2001. So 07/21/2001. And his zip code is 92116. Great. And then go ahead and click continue. So how did you do your taxes last year? So if we look at the W-2, it says he heard TurboTax is a free version. He's a bit nervous to file his taxes for the first time. So it looks like he didn't file his taxes. How are you feeling about taxes this year? Not so good. Continue. So what was your marital status in December 31, 2019? So Antonio is 18, lives at home. For tax purposes, he is single. Okay, let's go ahead and click on single. Children, let's see. So do any of these apply? Children or dependents, college student, owns a home, or paid rent. So let's see. Antonio is 18, lives at home. His parents do not claim him. Great, he has a job. Antonio does not pay rent. So it looks like none of these apply to me. Go ahead, click continue. Looks like I had a job in 2019 and the rest of these don't apply to me. Go ahead and click continue. Great, okay. Starting to learn a little bit about myself. Continue. Let's go ahead and skip this for now. We'll come back to that later in order to download and print our returns so your students can either hand them in to you guys to show that they've completed it or to discuss it with their students. Okay. A little bit more about personal info. So let's see, social security number. So you'll see we have a social security number up here. And again, because this is a student environment, anything they enter into the tool does not get pushed out anywhere. And everything that's in this tool actually gets wiped because these are test accounts. So the social security number that's here, let's go ahead and type it in. So we have 013282019. And it looks like his occupation is a sales associate. Okay, great. Is Antonio a member or former member of the U.S. Armed Forces? He is not. Did he live in another state in 2019? Nope. Nope. No one's going to. Considered legally blind? No. And we are not preparing this return because Antonio has not passed away. So were you a full-time student because you were in high school? The answer is yes. Great. Continue. Okay, yep, I am single. Did you support yourself? Nope, I did not because I lived at home with my parents. Was at least one of your parents alive? Yes. Do you have children or support them? No, I do not. Okay, so now again, looking back at the W-2, let's go ahead and start entering Antonio's, his address. So 3902 Georgia Street. Okay, San Diego, California. Perfect. And click continue. Okay, sure. You can use the recommended address. Did you make money in any other state? No, I did not. Okay, looks like I should be filing single. Okay, go ahead and click continue. Great, let's keep moving forward. And now we are going to start to get to the fun portion of this. So once I go ahead and click get started, you will notice and we want to work on our W-2s now. All right, employee EIN. Hang on, let's see here. Let's open this up a little bit more. Great. So now looking at box B, let's show my refund because this is what's fun. So this is where the students really get a kick out of the simulation, because as they enter information, they will either see, depending on the W-2 that they have, either how much money they get back or how much money that they actually owe back to the government for the return. So we do have a W-2. I can't recall who it is, where she actually messed up the W-4 with her employer, and she actually owes a bunch of money back to the government. So that's just kind of the variation that we have within the W-2. So if we look at box B, great. So let's enter 52, 297, 2543. And again, go ahead and follow along with me as we do this. Go ahead, click continue. Great. So employer name, looks like we have Dairy Queen International, and their address is 1640 Camino del Rio. And it's San Diego, California, 92108. Great. Box D. So you'll notice box D in the control number doesn't seem to come up, so we don't need to enter anything. And now this is where we're going to actually start to go through the W-2. So we have box 1, wages and tips, so it's going to be 944008, 64.01, okay, 944008, 585, 28. Great, and just keep moving along with me as we do this, so 9440. And if you guys have any questions along the way, feel free to enter them into the chat box, and we will go ahead and answer them as best as we can as we go through this. But again, we will also have that Q&A session at the end where we will open it up to you guys. So box 7 looks like it's empty, 8 empty. Great, let's keep moving along here. Okay, box 13 is empty as well. Okay, so now what is our state employee ID number? We have 4215-02878. State wages, 08, and then 59700. Great, okay. Now if you guys give me 1 second here, I just want to make sure that I'm keeping on time. Great, okay, gonna minimize that again. All right, so now looking at 18, looks like it's not there, so let's go ahead and click continue. All right, looks like we are getting a refund so far. So we've got $564 coming back to us. So this is a point where it really is great for you to explain to your students, or if you want to have a discussion with them or have the students kind of discuss together about why am I getting a refund. So you can actually go ahead and click that, and it will kind of explain to you, or for the students, why they're actually going ahead and getting a refund instead of kind of having them move on. So this is one great stopping point for reflections. Let's go ahead and click continue to keep moving. We've got deductions and credits coming up. So do any of these uncommon situations apply to us? The answer is no, none of the above. Do we have another W-2? Let's see. Nope, doesn't look like we do. Let's go ahead and click no. Okay, here's our W-2 information. Let's go ahead and click done. All right, so a little bit more. So no, I did not. Did I receive any interest payments? Nope, I did not. Did I own a business? Nope. Nope, no jury duty for me, no dividend payments, no foreign bank account. And again, all of this information is coming from this W-2 here, which actually, through any of the W-2 scenarios that we have, all of these questions don't apply. Great. Let's go ahead and wrap up our income. Were I affected by any natural disasters? No, I was not. Let's go ahead and click continue. Did you acquire, sell, or exchange any virtual currency? No, I did not. Click continue. Great. Okay. Tax breaks time. Did I pay for car registration fees? No. Did I own a home? Nope, because I live at home and live with my parents. So how much money did I donate? It doesn't look like I donated any money. In one of the W-2s, we actually donated money, and we note that up here in the paragraph. So about how much did we spend in medical expenses? $0. Go ahead, click continue. Great. Double checking for your biggest deduction. And you will notice this is where we bring up standard deductions. Here's another talking point or discussion point for you and your students. And you can actually show me the breakdown of these if you wanted to itemize them. You can explain what deductions are or about anything new about standard deductions from this year versus previous years. And actually through all of our W-2s as well, just for you guys to know, they will always use the standard deduction. Okay, sounds good. Let's go ahead and keep chugging along here. So any other tax breaks? Did you make any estimated taxes? I did not. Nope. No college expenses. Did I make any payments on a student loan? I did not, because I'm still a high school senior. Did I contribute to an IRA? I did not. No qualified retirement plan. Go ahead and click continue. Okay, let's wrap up our tax breaks. Okay, uncommon situations. I did not have a live-in nanny. Do you want to apply your refund? Nope, I would like my money now. I don't want to donate. Nope. All right, go ahead, click continue. Okay, so you guys will notice that, let's confirm Social Security and birth. Okay, these look great. Okay, so because Antonio is in California, we are going to have a state return. So if you guys are in a state which you don't have a state return, then you guys won't go through this next portion. And that just depends on which W-2 that you guys go ahead and use. So for this sake of this one, because we use Antonio, let's go ahead and click continue. And they're preparing our state returns for us. And as I go through this, if this is a little bit quick, again, remember, we do have the YouTube videos that will take you through this step by step, just similar to what I'm doing in a slightly more condensed version for you or for your students. Go ahead and click continue. All right, so did I file a 2018 tax return? So again, if I look back at my W-2, it says, I am going to file my taxes for the first time. So no, I did not file. Okay, need to make electronic payments? Nope. Do you have a dependent? No. Okay, click continue. All right, so here's any income from California, but again, none of these will apply to us. Is there adjustments that we don't call out in the paragraph? So out-of-state purchases, I did not. Let's go ahead and skip AMT. Okay, let's go ahead and click continue. Let's take a look at the California credits and taxes. Okay, done with credits and taxes. No, let's not donate today. I would like all of my money. Okay, and we are going to go ahead. Oh, let's see, what do I need to fix? Okay, go ahead and click continue. Oh, looks like I got to do a second one. I must have missed these. Go ahead and click continue. Okay, everything looks good. So now we are going to go ahead and select done with state. Okay, they're going to check over all of our information one more time. And then this is where you guys are actually going to go ahead and be able to download and or print your return that we just went through. So this screen that you're looking at is the official sort of end of the simulation for you and your students. So this is where you can see your federal refund and your state refund. So from here, what you guys can actually go ahead and do is start to file again or print or download actually the return that you guys just completed. So if you click on Tax Tools over here on the left-hand side, you'll see Print Center. Okay, let's go ahead, print, save, or preview this year's return. Go ahead and click Continue. All right, great. Let's go ahead and click Continue. Okay, so this is just confirming it's us, and we can use the same information from the tax return. Go ahead and click on Register. And again, this is the same information from the W-2 that we have over here on the right-hand side. Okay, and continue to print. So TurboTax Print Center, let's go ahead and get our 2019 federal and returns and view and or print forms. So you will notice a pop-up screen comes up, and this is the return that you guys just went through with your students, or your students will go through. And at the top up here, you can print, download, and they can actually upload this to the Google Class or whatever sort of living area, or maybe it's Dropbox for them to actually hand in their scenarios. And I know because of, again, everything that's happening, in the outside world, students may or may not be handing work in, or some students won't be coming back for the rest of the year. So depending on how you want to do it, this again is really just to help students understand the process of filing taxes to kind of alleviate that tax day anxiety. So that is essentially the end of the simulation itself. One thing I want to go ahead and do is I'm actually going to go ahead and sign out one more time, and I want to take you through getting back into the simulation, because that is where the biggest headache comes. So we are going to go ahead and get back to the main screen. So you'll notice that you will always see, and your students will see, this is a test account. So from our website, you want to make sure that you click on the link within the website instead of just Googling TurboTax, because that's not the student simulation, and this is. So one more time, really quickly, I'm going to go ahead and pop in here and see how much time I've got. Great. Okay. And so let's go through this one more time on how to log in. So again, it's fake email addresses that we want to go ahead and enter. Okay. So we'll copy and paste them, and we'll go through this the whole time. So let's do test. Account, let's do 98765, sure, at intuiteducation.com. Okay, so again, you guys will make this up, and so will your students. Your students cannot use the same one. So if you have student 1 and student 2, they can't use the same login. They will need to use separate logins at intuiteducation.com. Okay, you will go ahead one more time, copy and paste, copy and paste. For a phone number, you are going to go ahead and enter 5s across the board, or you can really enter whatever you want. Just make sure that you uncheck this box to verify with text message. You do not want to have it verified because, again, these email addresses aren't real and this phone number is not real. So what it's going to want to do is send you a text message to make sure that you can get in. So for password, again, let's go ahead and use TurboTax 1234 exclamation. One more time, TurboTax 1234 exclamation. You can go ahead and click Create Account, continue to TurboTax. Great, it's going to take you back into the simulation. From here, you can select File for 0. This is where your students, again, will begin the simulation. Okay, let's start by getting to know you. And we want them to go ahead and start with, well, so for this one, for you guys, again, Antonio, the W-2. We have others for you on the website. And this is, again, where they pretend that they are Antonio. So with that, that is really essentially all that you need to get yourself as well as the students started in practicing filing your taxes. I'm going to go ahead and pull back up the main screen, stop sharing my screen. And so now what I'm going to go ahead and do is actually turn it over here to Dave Cook. What Dave is going to do is he's going to walk you through a couple tips and tricks, as you guys kind of remember from the agenda, on e-learning itself, because students may or may not be coming back this year. A lot of them will be probably using different or various webinar tools such as Zoom, where this is great because it's from the digital learning aspect. And then what he's going to do is also take you through some tips and tricks for the simulation itself, since he's done this both in the classroom as well as with his students. So I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to you, Dave.
Thanks, Jared. Hi, everybody. If you're wondering when is the Q&A, the Q&A is coming really soon. Jared just took us through a lot really quickly, and we're going to be here to answer your questions. I'm going to zoom out for a minute and talk about a couple digital learning thoughts. So take a pause from all your TurboTax specific questions, and we will get back to those. My first thought is don't reinvent the wheel. I think sometimes it's really good to take a fresh look at curriculum and redesign, but just maybe not right now. There's some challenges in creating new curriculum. It takes time. It's good to collaborate with other people. It's a little harder to collaborate right now. It's good to test new things with students, and you may not have the audience and platform and arena to test things with students. You have to consider ways to assess, and right now our hands are tied in some traditional ways to do assessment. But if you can find existing curriculum, and we'll talk about this, if you can find existing curriculum, you can then spend some time making the connection to your students and your classes, creating follow-up discussions and analysis. So maybe not reinvent the wheel right now, but take things like this that are out there and connect them to your students. Second, I think as teachers, it's always good to think about simplifying. I think digital learning really demands that we be a little more succinct. When we're in a traditional classroom, when I'm in my traditional classroom, I have the luxury of filling all the minutes between bells. I don't often force myself to be as succinct and get to the point as quickly because I know I'm going until the bell rings. I don't think succinct means sacrificing good explanation or giving objectives, but I think it does mean being very clear in what the goals and expectations are and saying those in a really clean way for students. I know we can speak 150 words a minute, and if you think about typing 150 words directions to students to get started on an assignment, that may seem like a lot. So be simple. How can we speak things really simply to students so that they can have success? My third thought is to empathize with students. Two things that I think really need a lot of empathy from the student point of view. First of all is getting started on anything new, not just digital learning, but any new activity. In my classroom, even when I think I'm as crystal clear as I can be, I still get the, wait, what are we supposed to do? And I think, oh, I couldn't have said it more clearly. One of the exciting things about digital learning is we can put ourselves on demand and create short little explanations like the video Jared mentioned earlier, and students can rewatch those as they need to. I think that's a really exciting thing about digital learning is we can connect with students a little better than when we're in person and can't just rewind and replay ourselves live. I think the second hurdle is content. With the digital learning, I think all teachers have experienced students getting stuck in a place that we wouldn't have anticipated students getting stuck. I had a student email me just last week and ask a question, and it forced me to restart an online module and go back through 10 minutes. And I finally got to the area the student was stuck, and I thought, oh my goodness, I would have gotten stuck here too. Maybe I even did get stuck the first time I did this and didn't even realize it. We need to empathize with students and understand some of the difficulties and frustrations they're going to have. And that includes going through things a few times. And the last thing is digital learning. I think it's exciting, digital learning, when it comes to providing feedback. What I love as an educator is that I think digital learning lets me reallocate my time. Instead of just focusing on delivery, I can spend more time on student support. You know, in my traditional classroom, I have to instruct and give feedback simultaneously. I think that's where we get stressed a little bit. We get so stuck in our instruction and we think we're doing a great job delivering, and then students interrupt and need feedback. And we think, wait a second, I'm doing such a great job here. Don't interrupt me. You know, the other day I spent seemingly the entire morning responding to student emails and questions about some new digital learning content. I think in that morning, as we were getting started with digital learning, I may have had more one-on-one interactions just in a couple hours with students than I get to have in whole weeks sometimes, because I can rely that the content's already been pushed out there. I've put myself on demand. I've tested the different platforms that I'm using. I had several students who I don't think had asked a question all semester in class, or maybe I just hadn't addressed their questions and concerns really well, and I was able to respond one-on-one, offer to give them follow-up feedback. So I think providing feedback is still as important. It just looks a little different when we go to digital learning. So to connect those four thoughts to what Jared took us through, this TurboTax simulation has been designed by educators, and it's been tested with students. This is something that we know works, and I think you can trust that this works, and you don't need to reinvent the wheel. You can trust this curriculum. Simplifying objectives. This activity, as Jared said, it's about students learning the process of how individuals file taxes. There's some different parts of that process. Part of it's difficult, part of it's confusing, part of it is very detailed, but it's very clear what the objective is for this activity. Please, in order to emphasize with students, please do what Jared just walked you through. If you were overwhelmed saying, I don't know what I'm supposed to do, am I supposed to follow Jared right now or try this on my own? You have time to do this at least once, maybe twice on your own. Go slow, take your time, think about student barriers. Please do this activity before you would consider just throwing it to students. And then provide feedback. Think about how does this activity relate to your students, your class, the subject that you teach. Find a way to personalize it. How can you have a discussion? How can you have a reflection? How can you just say to students, hey, what was confusing about this? What did you learn about this through going through taxes? And then the last slide I want to talk about is just a couple reminders as we think about what Jared threw at us really quickly. Please know that the beginning is really important. Don't just Google TurboTax. Don't go to turbotax.com. Follow the detailed step-by-step directions for logging in. Make sure you know those. Make sure you communicate those to your students. And as I said earlier, anticipate trouble spots. It's hard sometimes to anticipate what will students struggle with, but just go slowly. Take notes. As you get stuck, students will get stuck. So try it a couple times. Jared ended his video tutorial by showing you the beginning again, because we really wanted to emphasize that the beginning is important. Students are going to be on multiple screens. Students are going to have to toggle at the very least between the directions, which for most students will be an electronic worksheet, unless they happen to have a printer at home, and the TurboTax simulation itself, if not also the video. So remind students that they need to take time to do this. This won't be something they're able to just whip through in 10 minutes. Let them know it's okay. Even let them know, hey, you're going to have to toggle back and forth, and it'll be a little back and forth. Take extra time, and that's okay. That's part of the process. Frankly, that's the same thing that I do when I'm filing taxes, is I'm juggling paper and different websites and emails. And so you can even be real honest with students. Say, this is part of the process. You're learning what people do when they file taxes. And then finally, Jared showed you at the end how to go to that print center and download. You get to decide as the educator, do you want to assess students on getting the correct answer, that $364 that Antonio Davis had is the exact amount as federal return? Is that the most important thing to you, students getting the exact precise answer? Or is it more about the process? You just want students to have experienced it and then maybe write a reflection on what it was like and what they understand and what confusion they have? Or maybe identifying the steps, asking them some questions about what things does a person need to file taxes? What questions will they be asked? There's great follow-up discussion and analysis, I think, to be had here. So those are my thoughts on digital learning and then just this simulation. So at this time, Jared walked you through. I threw a couple thoughts out to you, and we'd like to invite you to be a part of a Q&A. We're here to answer questions. We really thank you for taking time out of your day to listen, and we want to hear. I know there's some burning thoughts out there. So please, if you have questions, throw them out. We are standing by live right now to answer them. So thanks so much for your time and being here. Thanks, Jared, for walking everybody through, and we're excited to hear your questions.
Hi, everyone. Thank you again for joining us today. So what I'm going to go ahead and do with the last about 15 or so minutes that we have, I'll open it up to Q&A for you guys. But before we do that, or if you want to type your questions into the chat, please feel free. I'm going to go ahead and actually answer some of the questions that we were going through, or that I was reading as I was going through the earlier demo. The resources and all of the documents are in the resources tab. So I believe on the top part of your little ribbon up here, you should see basically all the different places that you can go, and there should be a resources tab where you can actually download all the documents. If you can't find that, on our website at intuiteducation.com, again, intuiteducation.com, you can go to the personal finance portion or program section. And in there, what you can find is everything from the W-2s that you can download. You can find the website and the link that you need. You have the teacher resources, the how-to guide. What we did was we put everything into one location on the website. This way you can essentially just go and click and download everything that you need. So whether you want to get it from the resources tab that's part of this conference session, or if you want to go to intuiteducation.com, that is another spot that you can use to actually go ahead and download all the materials you needed that we went through today. So I know that that was quick and it was a little bit fast. We did need to try to squeeze it into an hour, and then wanted to open up to you guys for Q&A. Also, this will be recorded and you will have access to it for 60 days. But if you don't watch it in that time, don't worry, because actually on our site as well is we have YouTube videos where it will take this last hour and essentially kind of condense it into about 5 minutes. Where you'll be able to kind of pause and play and keep going back and forth on pause and play. And then you can actually go through the process with yourself. And again, the how-to guide is probably a pretty key resource for you to go ahead and get through this. So again, make sure you try it once or twice by yourself, and then feel free to actually go ahead and whether you want to do this with your students or again, with anybody else. So with that, I know that was a lot of the first couple of questions, kind of slowing down the pace and going through it. It was really just to hope that you guys watched to see the process and where we went. But I will go ahead and open it live for Q&A. So I do have the chat box up here on the screen. So as you guys type in questions, I can answer them live. So the first one I see is from Michelle, which is, what's the exact web address? Again, it's intuiteducation.com. Students do need to create fake accounts. So the reason why we have them create fake accounts, they need to do this every time. And the reason is because of student data privacy is our number one concern. And we obviously know that that's one of yours as well. So when the students make their accounts, let's just say they use taxes are fun at intuiteducation.com. Maybe they'll do taxes are fun 1 at intuiteducation.com. Kind of now moving down some of these questions here. So I see from Antonio, what does the Google form I filled out for? So the Google form that you filled out will actually unlock the W-2s that you have. So the W-2s that you see there are ones that we've kind of pre-made for you, but you're more than welcome to create your own W-2. You actually don't need to use the ones that we have there. So for example, let's just say you're not in California like we were today with Antonio. You are more than welcome to use whatever state you want, whatever address, or have the W-2 be whatever company you want it to be for. Carrie, will the simulation work on an iPad? It will. So as long as you have the students go to that web link that we provide in the how-to guide, it will work anywhere that they have access to the internet. So again, remember, we stated this a little bit earlier, but it's not just going to Google and typing in TurboTax into Google. There is a specific student simulation environment where it's found on our website, and you can see the link there. Or it's in the how-to guides, it's in the resource guides and teacher checklist for you. We kind of posted it on every piece of document that you guys can find. Let's see, next I see Mark, in 2021, there will be updated W-2 forms and resources. Yes, there will be. So every year we update these W-2 forms and they will be live for you. So again, the same place that you see them, feel free to keep on going back and seeing what there are. And again, you do have the ability to create your own W-2. Any other questions, comments, concerns? One thing to touch on again, I think is probably once you understand the process and the flow, which is the reason why I recovered it again in the end, was that login process. And that login is probably the longest part in the process in getting the students in. But once they are in, it's a pretty intuitive tool that will actually go ahead and help them learn to practice. Let's see, the next question I see is there a Spanish version available? Today, there is not a Spanish version available. I do know that someone on our team is working on that, but we do not currently have that today. Let's see, so Annette, I see, will I have to remind the students to enable pop-ups on their computer for this to work? That's a great question, Annette. Typically what happens is once you get to that final screen where you see the final numbers with the return and then the state return, what's going to happen there is then you can go ahead and click the download button, which is in the how-to guide that we walk through at the end. I've never actually run into students having a hard time with pop-ups. That's a great question. You may or may not need to actually have them do that. But again, in the hundreds and thousands of students that have gone through this, that has not been a problem so far. Aaron and Colleen, sorry, I think I missed your guys' question. So students cannot log back into the activity midway through. So let's say they're going through this activity and a bell rings, or because of the environment we live in, and they are at their computer and their sibling is outside and they try to call them to come outside and play for some reason or whatever. They cannot log back into that same account. And again, the reason for that is because of student data privacy. So they will need to go through and create that new account again and log in and go through the process. Does this require software download? Christopher, no, it does not. It does not require any sort of software download. Everything is from that URL that we mentioned that is on the resource tabs. So if you go to the resource page within the conference, you can download it there. You can download it from our website, which is intuiteducation.com. From there, all you need to do is go to the URL that is posted, and you do not need to download any sort of software. All right, I caught up to you guys. Any other questions? We do have the next session going ahead and starting in 9 minutes. If you guys are going to be attending the Mint session, it will be very similar to this, where the accounts are, the resources are in the resources tab, the documents. Again, you can feel free to follow along with me and then come back and do this again. These will be recorded for you. The first 10 minutes, you're going to notice we will go through the same kind of introduction to who is Intuit in case we get a couple more educators that didn't join this first session. Feel free to take a break, use the restroom, whatever you need to do if you want to download those resources and the documents. And this way you can kind of follow along with me. But again, we will have the same live Q&A session at the end for you guys to feel free to go ahead and answer questions. And we do have the same sort of documents and how-to guides and videos for you, for your students, to help you go ahead and get started.